and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day today to be with me and my guests. I greatly appreciate it. Well, again, I have another terrific show for you today. We're going to highlight the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, and I have three terrific, very talented women as my guests today. So let me introduce them to you. I have Lauren Yarger, the co-founder, a producer and playwright from Gracewell Productions. I have Mary Miko, co-founder, special events coordinator of Goodspeed Musicals. And I have Susan Cinoman of the steering committee, and she is a playwright and screenwriter. And ladies, thanks so much for being here today. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Lauren, why don't we start with you? Let's take the viewer back on all three of you. Tell us about your history. Tell us about your background.
Well, currently I'm producing and had done that before, but for the last, I don't know how many years, I was a critic in New York and here in Connecticut. So I was active with the Drama Desk and the Outer Critic Circle, and kind of took a break from producing to do all of that, and now I'm back in the producing mode.
Are you busy with doing things right now in the state of Connecticut? Are you in New York? Where does your work take you?
All over. Right now, we've just gotten the word that we're going ahead with a play reading series here in Connecticut at the Palace Theater, which will begin in the fall. So we're nailing down some details on the exact plays and dates, but that's exciting. We've had that start and stop a couple of times because of the pandemic, but now we're ready to go full force. So that'll be something here in Connecticut. And I'm working with a colleague producer on a fundraiser, presenting a show to help raise funds for the Asian community in the face of the recent hate crimes that have happened. And I'm working with some other people on a couple of other productions. So it's starting to heat up again and get busy.
Wonderful. And Mary Miko, you've been with the Goodspeed a very long time as special events coordinator. Why don't you tell us about your background? Let us get to know you.
Thank you. Well, I've been in Connecticut all my life, always wanted to be in the theater. Everyone thinks they're going to be on stage, and then you realize, no, you're not that talented. So you find other things to do in the theater. I was one of the founders of the Downtown Cabaret Theater in Bridgeport in the 1970s, and I've been at Goodspeed all these years. I've done various jobs at Goodspeed, but currently I'm the special events coordinator, and basically I'm a fundraiser for the organization.
And as we talked about, I did have a wonderful interview many months ago about the Goodspeed. How is the Goodspeed doing these days? We're getting to a different point in the calendar of 2021. Are things going to be coming back with theater?
We are. In the spring, we ran Goodspeed On Demand, for 3 different programs, all digital, all very different. And in June, we just announced our Goodspeed by the River, which is happening from June through Labor Day. We purchased a 100 by 40 foot tent, and we will be doing programming with a variety, concerts and an appeal for everyone. And then in the fall, we hope to open inside with our main production. So we're busy.
Did you think, Mary, when you were growing up or into adulthood that you would be performing, or did you always think that you'd be behind the scenes or working in management?
As a child, I wanted to perform, but then I realized that I was more concerned about how much money was being brought in through the box office and how to pay the performers on Monday morning than I was being involved on the stage itself.
Well, the Goodspeed must be very blessed to have you because you're concerned about their funding, and that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And Susan, why don't we talk about you? Tell us a bit about yourself. Let the viewer get to know you too.
Well, my name is Susan Cinoman. I'm on the steering committee of the League of Professional Theater Women. I'm very, very proud of that and of the work that we do, and feel very supported by my league contemporaries all the time. They're just unbelievable women and wonderful friends. And I'm a playwright. My most recent production was an online production called Period Piece, which was produced by a woman who I actually met through the League of Professional Theater Women, Tracy Knight Narang. And she produced an idea that I created that enabled people of all different varieties and in all different ways to create pieces where they talked about their periods, menstruation. So we are trying to break the stigma of talking about periods through this dramatic presentation, which has a future life on the stage. I'm also a playwright of my own work. I have a new play called Guinevere, which won the Guilford Prize in Drama a year ago, and is looking for a future home. Also produced by the same person who did Period Piece, Tracy Knight Narang. And I have written for television. I've written for the Goldbergs on ABC television. I've been writing for the stage for a very long time. So, yes.
When you talk about writing, were you, let's talk about childhood and into adulthood. Was writing part of your life? Did you know that you would be doing that?
Oh, that's a great question. I always did write and draw, but I really thought that I was going to be an actress for a long, long time. And I worked as one until I was probably 30. And then I kind of shifted gears when my children came into creation. That's when I started changing direction and became a writer. So,
okay,
yeah.
Why don't we talk a little bit about
be in it, though.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
I know. I'm sorry. I said I always knew I would be in the field, or that was always my dream.
That's a very good question. Did the three of you know that you would be in the theater field? Was this just something that you knew that you'd be doing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
No, my background is in journalism, and I was in newspapers, and I edited newspapers and did that professionally. I always have been a lover of the theater. And was always involved with theater, and then I became more so and started writing and directing for productions. And so when we actually made a move to Connecticut about 20 years ago, I decided to shift out of the journalism side and really just take up the theater. So it wasn't until that part of my life that I really embraced a career in the theater. And I really I was very reluctant to be a critic and to write those kinds of pieces for the theater, because it's a very different kind of writing when you're a journalist. At least in the old school, like I was raised, you're not supposed to have an opinion as a journalist. You're supposed to just just show the facts for the story, what it is, and tell all the sides without your own opinion coming through. And theater criticism is all your opinion. So it was very different, but it was something that I ended up really loving and really enjoying. So I kind of rolled from straight journalism into active theater involvement, writing and directing, into writing about theater, now back into producing it again.
There are probably many viewers that are listening right now, watching us, that are interested in the theater in either of your categories. Are there any kind of words of advice as to how somebody can get involved and become involved in the theater world? And that question is open to anybody.
I think ushering is a great way to start getting involved with the theater. I can tell you the hundreds of ushers that have come through Goodspeed always talk about their experience in adulthood. They'll always make a reference saying, oh, when I was a kid, I worked at Goodspeed, and boy, I met so many wonderful people. So I think ushering is the way to start.
Why don't we take a moment and talk about the chapter? Lauren, how did that come to be? Was this a brainchild of somebody? I think it stems also maybe from New York. Tell us about it.
Well, in Connecticut, it kind of came out of a realization at one point about 6 years ago. We started the chapter that there was just a need for something for the women who were involved in theater in Connecticut to be able to network, to know who we were. Connecticut has a lot of theater going on here. We have something like 11 or 12 professional theaters with equity contracts. And then we have another tier of theaters that are professional. They pay their actors and people that maybe don't have the contract. Then we have a whole bunch of community theater. So in all that world of theater, there are a lot of women working in theater, and there didn't seem to be a real way to connect. And I had been involved with the League in New York, and Mary also was a member. And we have another co-founder, Marie Reynolds, who's still active with us as a co-founder. We had a fourth co-founder, and all four of us had been involved with the League in New York. So we were aware of the League and what kinds of things they had to offer. So we just started having, we had two main events here, one in Hartford County, one in Fairfield County, and just gathered people together and said, we're thinking about doing this. What are your needs? What would you like to see? And we had quite a good turnout. And it just took off from there, and we affiliated with the League in New York, and we are their first official chapter. And we have something like 265 women now in Connecticut that are actively connected with us through the chapter. So it's been quite a journey, but a really great one.
And Mary, what was it that sparked your interest to become involved with the Connecticut chapter? How did your journey come? You were in New York and then came to Connecticut. What happened?
Well, I've always lived in Connecticut, but I became involved with the League in New York because I used to go on their trips to London. And our equity rep was the person that introduced me to the organization. So after I went on 3 trips, they said, you should really become a member. So I did. And I attended many events in New York, and I served on the board for 3 years. So next year, the League of Professional Theater Women will be celebrating their 40th anniversary. So our programming is an offshoot of what is done in New York.
Okay, let's hold that thought. We're going to take a break. You're tuned into Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert. We'll be right back.
After a long sheltered winter, we could all use some time outdoors to enjoy our amazing Connecticut trails. Join us for this year's Connecticut Trails Day celebration, June 5th and 6th. Registration opens May 20th to reserve your spot. Masks, social distancing, and pre-registration are required. To register and for updates on outdoor activities and places to explore, visit ctwoodlands.org.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide, it provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. I hope that you're enjoying the show today. We're highlighting the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, and I have the pleasure of having Lauren Yarger, Mary Miko, and Susan Cinoman as my guests today. And Susan, why don't we talk about your part in being a part of the chapter? You're part of the steering committee. Tell us how you got involved with the chapter, and what does a steering committee person do?
I, like Mary, had started in New York with the chapter. I had heard about the League for many years working in the theater and always wanted to be a member of it. And I think there was sort of a set of criteria that had to be met at a certain point years ago. And in terms of like how many productions you had or being sponsored. I don't remember exactly the rules, but at some point I was able to do that and joined in New York. And then, I live in Connecticut. And so when the Connecticut chapter presented itself, I guess it must have been through an introduction through New York, I immediately wanted to become a part of it. And, I wanted to be involved. So I think somebody might have asked me to be on the steering committee or else I just insinuated myself into it. But what we do is we meet pretty much once a month, I'd say, maybe a little less than that sometimes. And we, I think our main initiative is to find ways for our members to connect. Can we connect through a luncheon or through a panel discussion that has a guest invited to that panel? Or can we connect through throughout the pandemic, we were active. We were reaching out to our members. We were finding ways to be on Zoom with our members and ask them what their needs were. So, along with the other steering committee members, this is what we do. I don't keep the schedules because God forbid that I did that. I don't know that we would ever really meet. I'm not very good at that. But luckily, everybody else is amazingly organized and amazingly, efficient at kind of keeping us together. And that's what we do. And it's great. It's really important if you're interested and involved in an organization to step up and become active and be involved.
One of the most important things for me hosting this program is the viewer. And Lauren, I'd like you to kind of talk to the viewer. How does somebody get involved with the organization? Is there a criteria, as Susan just mentioned? How do they get involved? How do they get in touch with you folks to even begin the process?
Well, we have different levels of involvement, I guess. To become a member, there still are some criteria that you have to meet as a professional theater woman. So there's a full membership level, which is about 5 years of experience in the field, and associate membership, which is 3. But there are a lot of people in Connecticut who want to be active and connecting with us, who maybe aren't ready to join at those levels, but they certainly can. So there are some things that we do that would be maybe for members only, but most of the things that we do are open to the public, especially the things that we've been doing on Zoom. So anybody can join us for an event. So we had a panel, for instance, with Susan and the creators for that period piece presentation. And that was open to anyone, including men. I mean, we're a League of Professional Theater Women, but we often have men who are interested in our panelists and in the discussions taking place, and so they're welcome as well. We do have a newsletter that goes out every month, and anybody can receive that, so you know what's going on with the chapter. And with our members, we have a lot of news in there about, Susan's doing a play on such and such, and Mary has some event going on, and those kinds of things. So you can really get a good understanding of Connecticut theater and what's going on through that. So if anybody is interested in receiving that, they just send us an email and say, please put me on your list. And if they're really interested in membership, we refer them to Mary, who heads up that area for us for the chapter.
And Mary, let's talk about the website. What would somebody find when they visit the website?
Well, it lists all the activities that we're doing currently, and it also gives networking information. What I wanted to say was our mission is to champion, promote, and celebrate the voices, presence, and visibility of women theater professionals, and to advocate for parity and recognition for women in theater across all disciplines. Connecticut is filled with playwrights, and there are a lot of producers that live in Connecticut, but there are women that are sound designers, costume designers, fundraisers, and actors. I mean, we cross the gamut of all of the disciplines.
And if somebody really wants to reach out to us, they can email us. The easiest email is CT for Connecticut chapter, LPTW for League of Professional Theater Women @gmail.com, and we can put them in touch with wherever, whatever place they need to go to find the information that they want.
That's wonderful to know, because I received the newsletter and then I was just so engaged as to what all of you were doing that I just had to have you on as guests. I mean, you're a find. I don't know if everybody knows that you exist. So this is a wonderful interview for the viewer as well as for me. So I want to thank you very much for being here. Susan, what does the chapter look like as you're moving into 2022 and 23? Are there things that you want to accomplish as an organization?
Well, we definitely want to reach out to more women in Connecticut and to broaden our membership. We're looking for, I'm a playwright, so obviously I have, a more stronger perspective on ways that the league can help playwrights. So we are looking towards a reading series, as Lauren had mentioned. That's something that's going to be happening. We're looking for more ways that people can have their work produced. I mean, we ourselves are not a producing organization, but we have a lot of outreach to many producing organizations. So we would like to, help playwrights connect to places where their work can be done locally or in New York also. But I think in general, if I speak on behalf of everybody, it's safe to say that, we really want to have a larger membership and just a more dynamic membership, where there's a lot of cross connection between, a director, designer, a writer, so that we're putting together teams that can then go out and create together.
We have an event actually this Thursday coming up that's just that. It's for people, our folks in Connecticut, to come together and say, hi, I'm Lauren, I'm a producer, I'm working on this. And hi, I'm Mary, I work in development, this, so that we can figure out who's out there. Because that's part of the challenge is we know who we know and who we've worked with already, but there are so many other women in Connecticut that we just haven't even met yet. So right. It's getting out there and letting people know we're here.
Lauren, a good point that you brought up. For the women that are coming to network at your functions, do they hire each other? Do they work with each other? I know it's been mentioned, but is it a good way for people to get some work?
Yes. We've been very pleased over the years, and really even just during this pandemic time, we've seen a lot of that. People making the connections, and sometimes it's right away. Sometimes people have met at an event and it's kind of like, I'm working on this. Oh, great, you can work with me, and it happens right then. And sometimes it's, I've met you at a lunch, and then I have a project 2 years later that I'm working on, and I need someone who's a playwright, and I remember Susan and she seems perfect. And so then I make the connect. I know I can call you then because I know who you are. I've met you already. It's not like I'm making a blind call to someone to say I'm working on a project and you don't even know who I am. So it seems to work. And I know even during the pandemic, we had a wonderful series where we presented, I believe it was 4 in total, presentations about, because it was the anniversary of women getting the right to vote this year in 2020. And so we had 4 presentations by members who'd written plays about suffragettes and so forth. And one of those we commissioned, the actual, the piece was commissioned by the chapter. And so that was work that was available, given through the chapter. So there are many ways that happens, but that's part of it for sure.
Well, and Mary, you're at Goodspeed Musicals. You are part of a theatrical entity that's very famous. Are there other individuals that are part of the chapter that come from the theater world, a facility like yours?
Yes. We have members that are from the other regional theaters in Connecticut. Absolutely.
And Susan, how does somebody start to become a playwright? Your write-up on the internet was amazing. I mean, you've done so many things. How does somebody get any work in your field?
I was thinking about that when you were asking the question to Mary about how she got started. And I think the best answer for that is just that if you are a writer and you have produced something, you have made something, the real advice is don't wait for anyone to do it. Don't wait for someone to produce it. Get people together who and actors, or people who want to be actors, especially if you're young and you're, coming out of a college program or have a community group. Just do it. Just, get people together and find a space. And now that we can be back together again, and just do your piece, do it for an audience of 10 or 20 people or 5 people. And then it's sort of, not fake it till you make it, but just do it till you make it, kind of thing. It's that's what I've always done from the time I was in my 20s. I never waited for somebody to discover me or pick me up and provide an opportunity. I always just plugged away and made my own opportunities with other people. Consequently, got to know so many people over the years, so many friends. And, now at my age, it's a great life because I'm always involved with the people who I've been working with, doing these things over the years and helping to connect other people who are, starting out. So, yeah.
Deborah, you asked about job opportunities. Just last week, the managing director of the International Arts and Ideas in New Haven contacted us and said, we're getting ready to kick off our season and we have 8 to 10 job openings. Would you please post them? So we do that also.
Well, ladies, I want to thank you. We have run out of time. I greatly appreciate all of you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you at an event.
Yes, absolutely. I will be there. I can't wait. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned into Arts and Entertainment. Thanks so much for being here today. Have a super day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.